There's no moral victories. Washington loses to Philadelphia in overtime, 34-31. It's time for a reckoning. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's Day After Reckoning. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. We are on the Believe Network. And this is our show here, Stoner, where we like to break down, have some time to think about this Washington game and kind of really get after it. And the first thing is got to make sure our graphics are correct here. First thing is the tough decisions that come in this game. First of all, big time discussion being had around Pat McAfee, got Peyton Manning on and everything to talk about this as well. Washington didn't go for two after scoring that touchdown at the end of regulation. No time on the clock. 2-point conversion wins the game. You get to go home. The Joey Sly point after does send it to overtime. Ron Rivera saying the offense was gassed, and that's why they didn't go with the 2-point conversion. But a lot of people are upset that Riverboat Ron shied away from the aggressive play call. What say you?
Well, I mean, look, all the people who are making comments about this, they don't have any skin in the game in terms of they don't have any repercussions if he goes for it and doesn't make it. And then he's the one responsible for that. Sure, he gets paid a lot of money and everything, but Peyton Manning and Pat McAfee and me and you and everybody on Twitter, we don't have any skin in the game. If we say they should have gone for it and then they don't get it, well, we're just a bunch of idiots out here just spouting off at the mouth. But he's the one that has to answer to people about it. His job is on the line. So I understand why he didn't go for it. There's analytics that go into all these decisions and everything, but he's there on the field. He has a feel for what his team is doing and how they're performing. And he decided it was best for his team to take their chances in overtime. And Washington had their chances in overtime.
They did. They had been they got the ball first, and so they definitely had that opportunity to potentially, at least score a field goal, maybe in the game with the touchdown. So of course the catch-22, right, is like you're saying, if he does the 2-point conversion, they fail. People are going to roast him for going for the 2-point conversion and failing, right? You're only a victor 1/3 of the time in this scenario where you go for the 2 and you score it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you go for 2 and you don't score it, you're the worst coach ever. And if you don't go for it and you bring it to overtime, in this case, lose, I guess maybe a quarter of the time you're only a victor for going for it. So, because you could obviously go to overtime and win. This case, they went to overtime, didn't. We, during the course of the game, thought they should go for 2.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera saying that the offense was gassed is the reason why they did not. You buy into that reasoning? Because I feel like that's just kind of a throwaway answer. I don't necessarily know if that's the actual answer. If this is a little conspiracy hat time from me here.
Yeah.
But I just don't know that I buy that answer or I even like that answer. But you're saying it's a fine answer?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Sure, he has to explain to everybody why. It's just a feel. It's a gut feeling for him. And maybe he had a little bit of time to think about it before he went to talk to the press. But it's just a gut feeling. He's been doing this for a lot of years. And he just felt like his team was not in the best position to score 2 points with no time on the clock after having come down the field on that 2-minute drill. And he said, I want to take my chances in overtime. And so I'm okay with him not doing it. I would have been okay with him trying it and failing. And of course I would have been okay with him trying and being successful at it. But I'm okay with his answer. It's not one of those things where you look at it and you just say, I mean, that's a terrible decision. No, it's not one of those.
I definitely don't think it was a bad decision. As much as I was saying that he should go for it during the course of the game, after looking at it, even with excuses or no excuses, I'm okay with taking it overtime. Give your team a shot there in overtime. Washington had been able to move the ball especially that last drive that we're going to take a look at in a little bit, but also just kind of all game they were able to do that. Defensively, they had some struggles. They ended up losing this one, Stoner, and it seems like this one was a gut punch to the team, as a lot of them seemed despondent in the locker room after this one, maybe even more so than the Bills game, where things got out of hand late in the fourth quarter. You agree with moral victories. You think that the moral victories are a thing. It doesn't seem like moral victories are a thing for Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen and Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah. Well,
so where's the gap?
Yeah, it's not for those guys. It's moral victories are for fans. Mostly. I will say the moral victories are for fans, that we're able to look at that and see everything that happened last week against Buffalo and think, oh my God, this is a 3-win team. It's a 4-win team. And then turn around and put that behind them, have a good week of practice, go on the road to the NFC champion, undefeated team with an MVP type quarterback, and fight all the way to the end and take them to overtime only to lose. And to me, that makes me feel good about the rest of the season. That's all a moral victory is. You don't get anything in the win column. There's nothing so macho about a moral victory, but it just makes me feel good as a fan that, no, this is not a 3-win team. This is a team that's going to compete every single week. And then now we've got 3 very winnable games in front of us before we meet Philly again back in Washington. That's all a moral victory is when you look at it and you say, they took last week, they learned from it, and they got better. And that makes me feel better as a fan.
They didn't suck. You're right. They did not. It was a very competitive game. Washington was leading at halftime, the first for this season, against a very good Philadelphia team. Again, I'm not much of a moral victory guy. I agree with you in the sense that I feel better after this than I did after the Bills loss.
You don't have to say
not a victory, though.
Victory. It's not a victory at all. It's nothing close to a victory. There's no column. It's not wins, losses, moral victories, ties. It's not there. But it's just, if you feel better about this team and what they did against a good team, then that's all it is. It's a moral victory.
I'm going to call it some delayed gratification is what I'm going to call it, because I'm just kind of at a resting state now, Stoner.
Yeah.
And when Washington beats Chicago on Thursday night, then I will actually feel good. Because I mean, like, what I'm saying is, I guess it's not that I'm feeling, like, when I say I'm feeling better, it's not like I'm feeling good about the loss. Right. What I'm saying is, I don't feel as despondent as I did after that Bills loss, because after the Bills loss, most of us were questioning whether or not this team was good enough to do anything this season. And now it's just like, okay, well, maybe we don't suck that bad. Right. And
that's
so now
the definition of a moral victory, Nathan.
That's a horrible gosh awful definition, Stoner.
Whenever anybody says, I like the way they fought, but they still need to get better or whatever. Oh, I like the way they played.
I say that. I even say that after Buffalo losses. I was like, I found positives in the Buffalo loss.
I'm just talking about overall. If you look at the overall part of the game and you say, I like what they did here. I like the overall of what they did as a team here, but they've got to get better at this and this and this and this and that. That's all a moral victory is. You don't want to put a label on it. Don't put a label on it, but I hear it. I hear it from you. I hear it from everybody that's what a moral victory is. You just don't want to put a label on it. That's fine. It's a moral
very
victory
binary
well.
in this one. There's wins, there's losses, and that's it, right? Well, I guess there's ties in there as well. One of those things they got to get better at, Stoner, is for the fourth season in a row, actually, with Jack Del Rio. His defenses have started off very slow.
Sure.
And I believe they're averaging 30 points, allowing 30 points a game right now. Is that accurate?
As a team, they are allowing 30 points per game. Exactly. 120 points in 4 games. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess technically there was the defensive touchdown by the Bills, which kind of skewed it a little bit.
And
the offense was the one who gave up that point.
And by Arizona. Remember, Arizona got the sack, fumble, touchdown So
True.
that's another defensive touchdown that they gave up. But you know what? Nobody does unless you're a stats geek. Nobody takes those points out of it and has a separate points per game given up. So
No.
we just have to take it on the surface. Because I went back and I looked at all these games and I got my little pad of paper here. You can see all this writing and everything from writing down points per game that this team gave up over the last 3+ years with Jack Del Rio. I didn't break it down and look at which games had interceptions for touchdowns and all that. They're giving up 30 points per game this year.
I mean, even if you were to remove those and the extra points that correspond with them, which of course extra points are special teams plays anyways.
Yeah.
And that's why you just don't take those out. They're still averaging giving up 26 points per game, nearly 27 points per game. And that's unacceptable for a defense that was, considered top 5 by the end of last season.
Mm-hmm.
This has been consistent with Jack Del Rio. And you mentioned that you've got the stats there to back this up. Is there any reason why they would just be so slow to start? Because each of those seasons, they ended up correcting themselves and getting stronger by the end of it. So why is it so difficult for them at the beginning of the season?
I don't know. They make the correct adjustments at some point, whether it's personnel wise or scheme wise. If we remember, they got better in 2020 because they brought Landon Collins down into the old Buffalo nickel. Last year, it was Cam Curl was hurt the first few games. And then when he came back, it seemed to fix itself. But it's consistent every year. In 2020, they started out giving up 28 and knocked it all the way down to 18. Not overall, but for those last 13 games or 12 games. And then in 2021, it went from 30.5 to 24. 2022, it went from 26.8 to 18 again last year. And then this year, they've started off giving up 30. And the whole theme of this defensive coaching staff from the beginning was we got to start fast. We don't have any excuses. We've got all the personnel. We've got all the consistency, right? Same players.
Starters are coming back. You've got the same coaching. It's the same scheme. 4 years in. You're right. There's no excuses.
And there's no excuse for what they're now. They've played 2 of the best offenses the last 2 weeks.
Sure.
With Buffalo and Philadelphia. 2 of the very best.
Wasn't that somewhat accurate for the last and some of those? I mean, out of the 4 games, and I don't know, this is kind of calling catching you off guard here a little bit. But if you're to look at those 4 games from each of those seasons, who were the opponents?
Oh, yeah. I don't have that.
We don't have that, right? But I want to say they were playing against some maybe not high-powered offenses, but they were playing against stronger offenses at the beginning of each of those seasons.
And then you run into the Chicagos and the Atlantas and San Francisco without a quarterback. If we remember in 2020 when it was Nick Mullins and you run into Pittsburgh with a Ben Roethlisberger who's, all beat up and old and everything.
Yeah.
So there is some truth to that, obviously, but you're still looking at a defense that overall was a top 5 defense. And again, you basically got the same guys and you drafted high and you still giving up 30 some odd points per game to these offenses. And you can't do that. You can't do that year after year after year. The flip side, you want to do the glass half full. Well, a turnaround's coming because it's turned around every year before. So a turnaround is coming. And look at your next 3 opponents.
I was about to say Chicago Giants Atlanta. Are in there and Atlanta, right?
Yeah,
so
Chicago,
very
Atlanta,
winnable games and games that you could potentially have low scoring affairs.
Absolutely.
One of those things we wanted to look at when we saw this, right? Because it did kind of pop up the question on, well, when did the teams switch from the pass heavy offense to a run heavy offense? Because last year is a great example. They came out of the gate swinging with Carson Wentz. Yeah. And then when he got injured, they turned into a running game. And even with him struggling with his last couple of games there, turned into a little bit of a run team as well. Was that thorough thread all the way through these 4 seasons?
Not the first year, not in 2020. They basically was about the same
Mhm.
from the first 4 games. So, and what you're saying is offensively, Washington has started to run the ball more and controlled the clock more, which kept the defense off the field so that the points per game for the other team would come down. And last year is a huge example. Like you said, the first 4 games, they were throwing the ball 66% of the time
Mm.
on offense. Not good. And then game 5, which I believe game 5 last year, Tennessee. I
Might
can't
have
even
been
remember who game
Tennessee.
5
Yeah.
last year was. They went over 70 something percent throwing the ball. They threw the ball 41 times and ran it 17. And then all of a sudden, like you said, I think that's when Carson Wentz got hurt. And the offense said, we can't keep doing this. We're throwing our defense under the bus. We're throwing them out there time after time after time. We've got to control the clock and give the defense some rest. And the rest of the year, they ran the ball, or they threw the ball now 49%. They went from 66% in the first 4 games and even higher that in the first 5. And then after that, they just started running the ball all the time.
Mhm.
That didn't equal to a whole lot of success. They finished 8-1, but they started giving their team a better chance and not
Sure.
having Taylor Heineke out there throwing all over the place and then putting their defense in bad spots.
Yes.
So the offense can help the defense.
Offense, yeah, the offense was doing its part there a little bit to help. But I mean, to talk about how there was really only last season, the 2022 season, where you had a great disparity going from 66% pass to 49% pass.
Yeah.
You went from 56 to 55 in 2021. So you essentially kept it the same.
Yeah.
And your play calling was fairly even. So there wasn't really a difference there on offense as far as the play calling was concerned.
Yeah.
A huge disparity in 1 year, but not even in 2020, where you had 61 to 63. You went up a little bit. So this one is Eric Bieniemy, and we've talked about him a lot here on Ref the District. He's going to continue passing the ball. He is who he is. And so I would expect this pass to rush ratio to stay in passing favor. So the defense is going to have to turn around. And you mentioned the stats for year 2020 was a year where they had very similar pass to rush ratio. The defense ended giving up how many points per game that season?
That they ended up, I don't know the exact number.
But the last 5 games, 5 through 16, they gave up 18
points per game.
Right. So it is doable.
Type defense.
Yeah, it is absolutely doable. And if the offense can continue putting up their own points, because they have had success doing that. You have 2 30-point games. You have the stinker against the Bills and an okay game against Arizona. So this team looks like the offense could keep putting up points, and the defense, if they can get back to that championship caliber defense, might just win, some more games here for Washington.
And this year, 2023, the trend has continued. They're at 64% throwing the ball in the first 4 games. And you just look at what the defense is doing, because they're out there more, because throwing is less consistently good in terms of holding on to the ball as much, and your defense is constantly coming back out there. So I think the offense has got to help this defense by controlling the ball a little bit more than they have in these first 4 games. But like you said, that's not Bieniemy's DNA, so I don't know if he'll do it or not.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, they had a 7-minute drive to open up the game against Philadelphia.
That was great.
And that was a long, sustained drive, took time off the clock. They did mix up the pass and rush there. And then they bookended it with a second touchdown there at the end of the game. That was a nice, long drive. And that brought it to overtime. Whether or not you agree with the 2-point conversion decision or not, that drive was a great drive by Washington to tie it up. And it was set up a little bit, Stoner, by the penalty on A.J. Brown, who threw the ball at Emmanuel Forbes as he was on the ground. Did a little taunting action there. Maybe not threw the ball, but at least taunted Emmanuel Forbes after the touchdown. That was 15 yards. Setting up Antonio Gibson for a solid run. to get them starting at the 36.
That's right.
From
I was just going to say that was a big deal at the time. Imagine if Washington had ended up winning that game, and AJ Brown, who had an amazing monster game, he would have been just roasted by the Philadelphia media and their fans for doing that, because that's 11 yards that they ended up getting, as opposed to a touchback starting at the 25. They started at the 36, almost a 37. That's 11, 12 yards that this team absolutely needed, as you saw at the end of the drive when they had no time on the clock when they finally scored.
So I have a bad thought, and I want to share it, and I want to see if anybody else shares this bad thought. So please let me know in the comment section, or if you can just hit us up at Ref the District. I realize this is definitely looking back at it in the wrong kind of mindset. Yeah. And mindset and hindsight. Washington allowing Philadelphia to score there was probably the best thing to happen to them. Second best thing. I'll get to the best thing as we go through the drive here. But the second best thing that happened to them this game was Forbes getting beat by AJ Brown and them scoring and giving Washington time to score. And they didn't have to, because it was a long catch. It wasn't a gimme, but it was essentially the what set it up to bring Washington the ability at least to tie it up. Is that too much looking at it in hindsight, or is there something there?
No, I mean, you don't want to just automatically give it to them from that distance, of course. But you're right. That actually, looking back at it, that was actually a good thing that happened, because otherwise they're just going to grind down the clock and they're going to kick a field goal, just as they did in overtime, and with no time left on the clock, and never give Washington that opportunity to tie it like they did. So yeah, that was actually a good thing. And we were surprised by them throwing. I think the play before, I can't remember exactly, but I think the play before, Hurts ran out of bounds or threw an incompletion to stop the clock and give Washington a free timeout. And we were like, well, that's kind of crazy to give Washington that free timeout. They should not be letting that clock stop like that. But that's an aggressive coach, an aggressive team, an experienced team that went through that. But yeah, I think that was a good thing in hindsight. Absolutely. That's an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it was actually Jalen Hurts at 1st and 10 and passed short left to AJ Brown and was pushed out of bounds. And then Swift ran right tackle off the right tackle for 6 yards. Washington had to use its second timeout. That's another important context here. Washington had to use a timeout early on in the second half because of a game clock issue. Where the officials were trying to spot the ball. There was discussion on, did it make the first down? Was it short? They ended up marking it just shy. It was like 3rd and inches, but the play clock was still running. And so Washington ended up having to take a timeout because the offense wasn't ready, because they were going to call a play based off of, is this 3rd and inches or is this, first down? And that would have made a difference there. So they had to take that timeout. They take their second timeout here, which leaves them with just one timeout after Antonio Gibson runs it down for the to the 36-yard line, which is where we start here with 1:36 left and the one timeout. So this is the first play out of the gate, Stoner. And what's something that you see here with this one?
Well, I just, if you look at the very top of the screen, you'll see that Curtis Samuel, who's ever playing off him, I don't know if that's Bradbury or Slay, I can't exactly tell, but he's 10 yards off him. He's giving him a huge cushion. If you look at the bottom of the screen and in the slot there, they're playing up, some press coverage there.
Sure.
And I know Sam had to see that and Curtis had to see that. I don't know if there's any sort of signal, but this is where all that practice comes in and all that off-season stuff. Maybe there's just a hand signal. Hey, look, you've got this cushion. I'm coming with a quick pass.
Yeah, you can see he's eyeing that, right? So that's Sam Howell's looking at that, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. As Curtis Samuel, his role is just literally sitting right here, and he's going to end up getting a great after some yak doing a little yakety yak there, yards after the catch here, as Sam Howell looks that way, immediately launches it. You see Curtis Samuel only went 4 or 5 yards before catching that ball, gets the first down for Washington, and the clock keeps moving, and they're looking here to do something on the second down now, or the second first down that they had. Now, this one, Stoner, what's going on for this one?
Well, this, of course, again, is now after that 11 yards, which was great, by the way. But here's where this could have been the narrative for the game, this play right here, because we've talked all about the sacks that Sam has been taking over the course of the first few games, and he took a big sack on this play. And it was partly on Sam, and it was partly on the offensive line, and it was well disguised by Philadelphia as well.
So right here, this linebacker is going to do a little bit of a delayed blitz, going to come right up the center. And we have a great replay of this that we'll show right afterwards. But yeah, he'll do a delay here. And one of the things that where I kind of pin it is going to be actually on Gibson here, who's the running back. So he leaks through the center, and oddly enough, he runs right at the other linebacker and just turns.
Yeah.
And he's going to run by. You'll see it here. He's going to run by the defensive blitzing linebacker. Doesn't even chip him. Doesn't do anything. And it happens. I know it happens so quickly, but he's running by that linebacker, and he's running by the offensive line, who clearly is not engaged, or is engaged and not ready to take on this guy. So you just figure a little chip action there would have been warranted, as Sam Howell is going to take the 7-yard sack here. So again, the delayed blitz right up the middle. And I'll show you from this other angle what I'm talking about when it comes to Antonio Gibson. So he's coming from 5-7 yards back. The linebacker is. Antonio Gibson's going to run right through this wide open hole past a linebacker who is running by him. You already passed Sadiq Charles, who's engaged in a block. You got to throw a chip there to just disrupt it a little bit.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
And I say so. I'm some doofus, but I mean, we've got this engaged here and this engaged here. If Sam Howell just has another second to throw, he could get this. He can complete one of these passes here. And I think over on the left-hand side, it was similarly engaged there, but it was just need to get a little action there. And so here you have this one that isn't even developed just yet, and the one on the right hand side equally not ready, tied up. This one you could possibly throw into the space here, if you just had time, but I mean, he was already nothing,
he's already getting hit.
Nada.
But go back just a little bit, and there's just a couple of curious things on this play. And you mentioned, of course, that Gibson ran right by the blitzing linebacker and didn't chip him. But also Nick Gates, who is the center, doesn't have any awareness that this guy's coming. And he goes to his right to help double team with Cosme on the defensive tackle, and just leaves that wide open hole without even considering that there's a possibility that a linebacker is coming. So
I think that's the protection that was called. So that's why I'm not necessarily going against that, because again, with the delayed blitz, I mean, those guys are playing 7 yards off the line there.
Sure.
Try to get back to the original line of scrimmage here. So those two are sitting right about the 47-yard and 48-yard line here. And the ball is being snapped at their 48-yard line, and the ball is being snapped at our 47. So I mean,
so about 5 yards,
5 yards off the ball. I think that they were thinking it was going to be a 4-man. They weren't expecting the blitz. So I'm not putting that on Nick Gates. Needs to be a quick decision, and Gibson just has to do a little bit of a chip there.
Cosme was having no trouble with that tackle blocking him, so he didn't need any help. So I would have preferred that Gates would have just stood there in the middle and waited in case there was a blitz coming. But he didn't. He immediately went to help out. And also, like you said, Gibson ran to the linebacker
Yeah,
and turned
weird
around instead of
weird decision there
going into
just to run.
space.
Yeah. I mean,
But
he was probably a stop, and then it could have been a zip throw. We've seen that, and we're going to see that here in a little bit. So,
yeah, it could have
bring
possibly been a situation to where if he had gone in either direction and Sam was expecting him to sit right there in the middle, and then Sam throws it while Gibby's going left, and then the defender's right there to pick it off. So you never know what the play is that's called, but it just doesn't seem logical that you run to the defender and then stop and turn around.
yeah.
That's usually not successful.
Here we got the line of defenders. You do get the little press coverage here. Only the 4-man rush. You're going to have 2 safeties that are far deep there for Philadelphia on the 2nd and
Can't
16.
even see them. They're so
Yeah,
far out.
I think they're at like the 35-yard line. I mean,
Yeah.
they were super far back here on a 2nd and 17. Sam Howell wisely just throwing this one away. I think that was a great decision. He takes a little bit of hit there, but they weren't planning on giving anything up on that one, and he got rid of the ball, didn't take a second negative play,
Right.
and
Because
kept Washington alive.
yeah, it's important to note that on that sack, they had to use their final timeout.
Yes.
So any sack after that is going to be big time trouble. So he felt the pressure. It was only a 4-man rush, but he felt the pressure. It started to move outside the pocket and said, you know what, let's try again. And he threw it away. Smart, really smart. Veteran play by the young quarterback.
Here we go with the 3rd and 17 here, and you're going to have Pringle getting out there, coming back, and Terry McLaurin doing a little bit of the same here, and Diami was a little bit further than Pringle. Those guys aside, you're going to have, this is actually Gore here who's going to leak out this way, and Gates chips and then moves out here. So giving Sam Howell some options if he ends up having time here on the 3rd and 17, of course, knowing this is 4th down territory. He doesn't have to get it all, but he does a beautiful job zipping this into Pringle just shy of the 1st down here, but it's just a great throw there. It did seem a little odd that Terry McLaurin and him were in similar space, but it wasn't too bad. And then this one here, 4th and 2, do or die, right? Do or go home type situation, and does an amazing job kind of audibling on this one. As you'll see up here at the top, Terry McLaurin's going to get straight up mugged, and they do call defensive holding on this one. So it would have been a 1st down regardless, but it ends up being a very positive play as our man Diami Brown is got a defender who is so far off. Line to gain is again 2 yards past the line of scrimmage there, and this I believe this is Slay here is almost 10 yards deep on this one.
Down at the bottom of your screen there.
Yeah.
That's
this is bottom of the screen. I'll circle again here.
There you go.
Yeah,
it wasn't circling is what I was trying to say.
It was circled, but it doesn't matter because down at the bottom here, playing nearly 10 yards off when it's a 2 yards are needed. Definitely an interesting decision here. Not playing to go to Diami Brown here, who literally just kind of does this short little in route, but the plan was quick. And you can see that with the route running that he's going to make. And Sam Howell even cocks back to throw this ball. Like it was planned decision, quick decision. And he ends up pulling it back
to go to Terry up on the
the plan was to go to Terry up top here, and let's just go ahead and play it out a little bit here, and you'll see what I'm talking about because he is looking straight at Terry, cocks it back right there. Terry McLaurin is on the ground. I'll stop that one, and then Diami Brown has his second good run after the catch there, and I'm gonna freeze right there. You see Terry McLaurin is literally on the ground here now. Yeah, he is very much just straight on the ground.
There was definitely a penalty there. But like you said, because he got it to Diami and got those extra yards, that it was declined, but they would have had it either way. But it was still a nice play. First of all, for Sam not to throw it, seeing how tight that coverage was, can't guarantee you're going to get that call. And then to obviously move out of the pocket and see Diami sitting there by himself.
Yep. Diamond Brown just wide open. Good run after the catch there. And running out of bounds, stopping the clock. Now there's no 1st and 10 here. What ends up happening is he again just throws it out of bounds, just takes a few seconds off the clock there and makes the right decision, throws it out of bounds. Here we go. 2nd and 10 now for Sam Howell and the Commanders. And he again just zips this one in to Terry. Problem with this one, Stoner.
Yeah.
We're right here in the middle of the field.
Yep.
You know, they're going to give him Terry, I think, right about to the 20 with forward progress.
Yeah.
But we're in the middle of the field. No timeouts.
No timeouts. No timeouts. Clock's ticking. And Philadelphia's okay with that. They played that way this entire drive. They played deep, keep everything in front of you. Even on that crucial 4th down play that Slay was playing so far off. So now it's 3rd and 1.
Yep. Third and 1 here for Washington, needing to get that. Only 12 seconds. This is where I really thought, Stoner, that we were going to start looking at the end zone. Just take a couple shots straight at the end zone. And Eric Bieniemy and Terry McLaurin and Sam Howell knew better than both of us.
Because tick, 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 tick. The clock's going. No timeouts. No. Are you going to spike it? What are you going to do?
Yeah. And so what we're going to see is Terry McLaurin runs just a beautiful route and an excellent throw from Sam Howell here on the out route. And this is when you're talking about an NFL throw. This is an NFL throw right here, just outside the numbers, perfectly on the dot there for Sam Howell. He's looking in the middle. He throws it to the out. And then you can't do that any better.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin sitting, getting the ball, making sure it's a catch, and then getting out of bounds, setting this up for a 1st and goal with 5 seconds left. You thought 1 play. I said maybe 2.
Yeah, I didn't think they had enough time for 2.
I figured there would be. I thought it was going to be a deep incomplete pass. Like it was just going to be like 1, 2, 3 launch just to give yourself a second in case of something.
Yeah.
And we did see that. Only problem, Stoner, is we didn't exactly see it in the way that we thought as Curtis Samuel's going to run, and he's going to be just shy of the end zone here. Terry McLaurin's going up, and Diami is going to come around towards the top of the end zone. And I think, and this is some grade A speculation on my part here, the play call, because both of those are running across the middle, is you're hoping that Samuel is going to get this one and be able to get an easy run into the end zone based off of Logan Thomas going out this way. I think they were expecting Logan Thomas to drag the 2 defenders here and open up the center. You do have the 5 defensemen on the line. I believe that's 5. Let me verify. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line. So they are showing. Yeah, not all 6 came in, but you're seeing some pressure there. And Washington was very fortunate to have this one fall incomplete with time on the clock.
Yep. Yeah, all 6 did come in, actually. And it was a quick throw. Yeah, if he caught that, game over. So if I was Philadelphia, I would have let him have it. I would have let Curtis Samuel catch that and then just tag him down.
It was a low throw. Like it was just there wasn't much I liked about that, but there was a lot of things I liked about this one right here. How about you?
That would have been a lot of roasting of Sam Howell again if they had completed that and not gotten in. We would have been like, well, that's you talk about it all the time on these 4th down plays when you throw it short of the sticks and you just hope, and then that would have been one of those plays where you got to get in the end zone and you're throwing it short of the end zone.
All right, so walk me through this one here, Stoner.
Yeah, this is a pretty awesome play. I mean, you can see, look at how many defensive backs they've got back there. 2, 4, 6, 7 defensive backs and 4 in the line. So they're leaving the middle open in terms of let them catch it before the goal line. We're going to defend this goal line with everything we got. Now you got 2 receivers up top, and you got 1 at the bottom. You got tight end coming out, and then our guy is better than your guy on this particular play. Jahan Dotson runs a great route. Sam knows exactly what he's going to do. He's not double covered and throws a big boy, dude perfect, franchise quarterback type throw.
Yeah. Yeah, this is amazing, and we're gonna show something for our people who are watching this on YouTube, because this is absolutely stunning here. Big time throw. Sam Howell launching it. and Jahan Dotson making up for his previous drop that was on a 3rd and 4 that we kind of talked to him. Now, this view is special. I can't wait to really see the all 22 on this one, just to get the timing down even better. So Jahan Dotson again just runs straight up and he turns, and you kind of see the flash of it there. And I'm going to bring it back just a little bit as the ball comes into the screen, trying to time it right here. It's just a flash there.
Yeah,
it flashed a little bit just before up here. And now the ball is actually right here is where it is. So I'm going to take off the first circle and just circle this one here where the ball is. And look at Jahan Dotson.
He's not even out of his break yet.
Not even out of his break. That ball was thrown before I think he even got to the end zone. And he
threw it to the outside shoulder where the defense is not. If there had been a defender over there, it would have been trouble. But he threw it to the outside shoulder. Again, I kind of come back to all those practices, all those off-season stuff, working down in Florida, where you just kind of get that innate feel for your receivers and guys you've been practicing with for a long time, that they know, of course, there's a play call, but Sam knows that Jahan is going to run that route properly. And if he does, he's going to put the ball where only Dotson can get it. And that's what happened. And it was just a great touchdown to tie the game, to get within a point. And then you had the whole
then you
go for 2 and all that. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big boy throw, Nathan. It was, I believe in Sam type throw. It was big time.
Yeah. So my question for you, big time throw. You believe in Sam. You talked this all week leading up into this game, and you're looking at the sacks, and you've got coming after this miserable loss to Buffalo where he got sacked 9 times. You're seeing that this is just who he is, because this is what he did in college. Horrendous sack totals here in the NFL. Are you back on being a howler?
Hey, I never left. I always said that I was in danger of doing a 180. And I said I was at about a 90, but not quite halfway to turning completely around. What was great about this and everything that transpired in this game is how they responded. And we talked about it all week. How will this team respond? And we expected them to respond really well. And Bieniemy was really good in this game as well. They're not putting Sam in bad positions, but Sam played extremely well. And especially that 2-minute drive there at the end of the game, not many quarterbacks can do that. Not many quarterbacks are built for that.
Yeah, that was all on Sam. That was a great job by him. 2 good throwaways in there. Did take the sack. He did take 5 sacks, but you heard it here. Stoner is still a howler.
Still a howler. Absolutely.
And in fact, I thought that he did so well, Stoner. You might be tempted to list him as a go-go here in our go-goes and no-goes. You know it. Even though this is a loss, I like to end with the positive. So let's hear your no-go first.
Yeah, my no-go. I kind of hate to do this, but when you really needed Tressway to step up in the 4th quarter, or actually in overtime, you really needed him to kind of hit one of his usual awesome punts, a high hanger deep to pin them back, and he didn't. I mean, it was a bad punt, and they got the balls at the 45, 46 yard line, somewhere around there. It's almost midfield. That's how bad of a punt it was. And so I kind of put a little bit of that. Defense still needs to stop them, and they almost did. And then my other one is, because I do have 2, but on that 3rd and 15, whatever it was for Philadelphia, they were out of field goal range. And everybody knew that they were going to throw a short pass, a 5, 6, 7 yard pass to get into decent field goal range for their awesome kicker. And Jack Del Rio decided to blitz his 2 linebackers and vacate that middle of the field. And that left it wide open, and they threw a nice little 6, 7 yard pass and then gave him a 54-yard field goal attempt. So I put a little bit on Jack Del Rio. Overall, the defense hasn't been good, but in this game and on that play, he should not have blitzed those linebackers, period.
Yeah, Tressway having a punt for 213 yards, punted 5 times, 213 yards, an average of 42.6. However, Washington did give up 38 return yards on that as well. So it wasn't. It
It
was
was a
not a great day.
29-yard punt, Nathan. 29. That
Yeah,
punt
it was
in overtime.
not a great
29.
punt.
Not
Not
great.
a great punt. Tressway was going to be mine. I'm going to be rocking his jersey
Still love him.
for Thursday. Still think that he is a world-class punter.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you have an off day, and he was having an off day.
And an off punt.
Yeah.
That was huge. 29.
Just not a great punt there for him.
Yeah.
If you took my no-go and you ended up listening too, I guess the other one is I'm going to call out the tackling by Washington, as they had a couple of opportunities that they missed, whether or not it was missed tackling or bad angles, that Philadelphia was able to get some extra yards off of. A lot of people are going to blame Forbes for the day that A.J. Brown had. A.J. Brown's is an excellent wide receiver. He's going to have those kind of games every once in a while. And yes, you could bracket. Where's the safety help? There's a lot of questions you can put into that. But Emmanuel Forbes did get beat on one of those. And then A.J. Brown had all the running time in the world and some good blocks, but also just had some missed tackles and missed opportunities to be able to tackle him. Jalen Hurts got a few extra yards because Deron Payne had taken a bad angle.
Yeah.
These are the things that I expect the defense to clean up and get better about as the season goes on.
Absolutely.
So that'll be my no-go there for this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's hit those go-go's, Stoner. Could you just maybe leave me one?
All right, I'll leave you one.
What do you do?
I'm going to go. Last week, my no-go, I absolutely torched this guy on national television. YouTube's national, right? Anybody in the entire country.
Sure.
On worldwide television, because you can see YouTube worldwide. I torched Eric Bieniemy because he had a horrible game plan. And this week, he fixed all of that. He had a fantastic game plan. He was throwing short passes. He had a little bit more consistency running the ball. That first drive was 8 runs, 6 passes. They barely had any plays to where Sam was just standing back there on a deep drop waiting for these routes. Eric Bieniemy called a fantastic game this week. He made all the adjustments that we asked for, the short passes, run the ball more, move in the pocket, play action. The first play of the game, Sam Howell was under center, which was crazy. You almost never see that. Eric Bieniemy had a great game plan. He's my go-go.
Hey, that's fair. That was an absolute that's absolutely right. The game plan was great. Sam Howell was much improved. Terry McLaurin was involved. A lot of us have been asking for that to happen because Terry McLaurin's not been seeing what we thought was going to be an excellent year for him. Jahan Dotson coming all around. But it was Dyami Brown here who's going to get my go-go. As we saw something from him that I really liked, and that was using his speed, because he is another one of these faster wide receivers. He's got some top end speed that he can do. And he did some serious great run after the catches. Only was targeted 3 times, but he took 2 of those and he got 51 yards on them. And one of those I believe what I counted as a 40-yard run after catch. Where he caught that ball and he had open space and he was able to use that. And then we saw there on the final drive where it was a short pass to him, but because he had open space, he moved and he was able to move that ball downfield for Washington. Dyami Brown having an excellent game. Let us know who your go-go's and no-go's are right here in the comment section of YouTube, or if you're listening to this on audio, hit us up at Ref the District. Let's move on to final thoughts. This is a short week, Stoner. Thursday night football for Washington, coming off of back-to-back losses, but going up against a winless Chicago team. How much does this game here really impact that?
Oh, this is a massive, massive game this week. This is a must-win game, Nathan. This is my first must-win game of the year. Well, I thought the first game was a must-win. You can't lose to Arizona at home with all the good vibes going on. This is must-win. You can't come back home after what you just did to Philadelphia and have that type of performance against Philadelphia. And even though it was a moral victory, because everyone says it was a good performance overall, understand the defense, blah, blah, blah. You can't have all of that and then come home and lose to a winless Chicago team with a coach who's about to get fired, with a quarterback who's about to get benched, although he had a fantastic game, but still they were about to bench him before the Denver game. You can't lose this game, Nathan. This is one you looked at from the beginning of the season. You're looking at right now. This is a winnable game. I think they're already like an 8-point favorite in Vegas. You have to win this game. If you don't, then it's all, all bets are off and you're just like, this team doesn't have it. You can understand losing. You looked at the schedule and you said, if you can go 2-2, then you're in good shape. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did. So you can't then take that and lose to Buffalo and Philly back-to-back, which you expect to do, and then turn around and lose to Chicago at home. Can't happen. Must-win game this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game there on Thursday night. Of course, we're going to be streaming it here on our YouTube channel, so you can catch our play-by-play and commentary there. So with this Philadelphia game, I do want to see them take those good vibes that came from the things that they did right, and I want to see them correct that. I want this also to be the first game the defense has that is lights out.
Yeah.
Don't let Justin Fields bounce back. Don't let him have a game like he did this past weekend where he threw for 4 touchdowns. You just don't want Chicago to be in this. You want this to be a game where you put it away. What we expected to happen against Arizona needs to happen against Chicago. And to do that, you need, again, take the stinging defeat, because it sucks to lose, especially against Philadelphia. But take those good things that happened with this game, because there were a lot. The play calling was great. Sam bounced back. Offensive line and him still have some things to work about when it comes to still taking too many sacks. You don't want to average 5 sacks a game, but there's still some really good things in there. You got Diami Brown, who's emerging. Curtis Samuel's having an excellent year. Terry McLaurin is Terry McLaurin. So the offense is really starting to get rolling. The ground game continues to be strong. The defense, I believe, will get there. We had another Chase Young sighting. That could have been a go-go, because Chase Young was doing a fantastic job on the line and showing us why he was a 2nd overall pick just a few years ago. So Washington taking those good vibes, gonna be at home against Chicago on Thursday Night Football. Make sure you check us out. We are gonna have a Bears preview Wednesday afternoon. We'll be live Wednesday night. We'll, of course, bring you your daily Commanders update. Thursday's the game. Friday's your next day after reckoning, so be sure to check that out. But until next time,
moral victories are a real thing, man.
Be a fan.
Here we go.